Today we begin a journey to understand every single note in the major and minor scales. That's right, every note all over the guitar fretboard. Literally every note you need to know to play the right notes in every key signature, no matter if you're doing it major or minor. And this video is all about positions of scales. And we'll get into exactly what that means, but if this is valuable and you like this, make sure to like it, share it, subscribe, all the fun stuff. So when we think of our major scale, we have to remember that the major scale is only composed of 7 notes, and that's it. Typically, when you see people going all over the fretboard, up and down in one key signature, they're hitting the same 7 notes all over the place. They're hitting different octaves. And that's just a real fancy way to say that they're playing the same note just in a higher frequency or a lower frequency, depending on where they are on the fretboard. So if we only have 7 notes before we start over in our scale, how can we start to visualize all of the notes and where they fall on the fretboard for easy access? That's where understanding the positions of the major scale will lead you into all of the notes you need to know, how to play them, where to play them, and even help you understand the same for minor. That's right, you learn the major scale positions, and I'll show you how to apply it easily with the same patterns in minor. So let's dive right in. We've got 7 notes in a major scale. That means we're going to have 7 positions. We'll first start on the 3rd fret of our low E, which would typically be, if you were in standard tuning, your G. I'm a half step down, so don't mind that, but I'll talk to you as if I am in standard tuning, so we'll act like that is our G, since more than likely, that's where you're at. Our first position is very simple. We start on the low E on the 3rd fret, and we play 3rd fret, 5th fret, 7th fret. And you'll see my fingering here. I typically tend to go 1, 2, 4 in the fingering I'm using. A lot of other people, though, don't do that. A lot of people will go first finger, ring finger, pinky. Really, whatever is comfortable to you will work as long as it doesn't hinder movement as you continue growing. So 3, 5, 7. We're going to move to our A string and do the exact same thing. We're going to go 3, 5, 7. On the D string, we'll be going 4, 5, 7. And you'll notice that I'm using first finger, second finger, 4th on that. On our G, we play the exact same thing, 4, 5, 7. On the B, we'll be playing 5, 7, 8. You'll note that I do first finger, 3rd finger, 4th finger for that. And then the same exact thing for our high E, 5, 7, 8. And this is position 1 of our G major, our major scale. And you'll recognize those first do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do notes easily. And that one is one that a lot of us begin to learn, and we start to learn that one first and foremost. And sometimes we have a problem going to the next positions or the next patterns, but I'll help you out. So a lot of times people ask, what does it mean? What do positions mean? Well, you'll notice that we went 3, 5, 7 to start that first position. On the second position, we're literally going to start on the second note that we just played. So we played 3, 5, 7. Our second position starts on the 5th fret of the low E. It starts on the 2nd scale degree. So we were G here. Our scale goes G, A. So we're going to start on A, but here's the key. We're going to play 3 notes per string across the fretboard this way and back. But with that, know that you're resolving an ending on the 2nd scale degree. You're playing the same exact notes, but you're going to end right here on that A. So if you want it to resolve, you just come down to G, or you find G in another octave to resolve that. But again, first position we already learned. Second position is just 3 notes per string, starting on the 5th fret of the low E. The second position for this will go 5, 7, 8. You'll notice I did it first finger, 3rd finger, 4th finger. 5, 7, 9. You'll again notice first finger, 2nd finger, 4th finger. 5, 7, 9. 5, 7, 9. And then we shift up to that B string. We go 7, 8, 10. And we do the same exact thing on the E. 7, 8, 10. Now remember, we understand how we went from position 1 to position 2. It's just the 2nd scale degree. Well, what's the 3rd scale degree? It's that 7th fret that we've been playing. And that's where you start position 3, and so on and so on. So let's kind of dive in and just start to really hone in on the positions, and I'll help you understand how they connect and how they work for minor. 3rd position is going to start on the 7th fret. We're going to go 7, 8, 10. First finger, 2nd finger, 4th finger. Then we'll go 7, 9, 10. First finger, 3rd finger, 4th finger. Again, 7, 9, 10. Then on that G, we go 7, 9, 11. You'll notice first finger, 2nd finger, 4th finger. And then we shift that whole shape up 1 fret. So we start on the 8th fret on our B string, and we go 8, 10, 12. And then on that E string, 8, 10, 12. Remember, where do we find our fourth position? Well, we just played the next note, right? We started our previous one on the 7th fret, and the second note of that was on the 8th fret. So that's where we start our next position. It's as easy as that. So our next position, the fourth position, will be 8th fret, 10th fret, 12th fret. Then on the A string, we'll go 9, 10, 12. On the D, we do the same, 9, 10, 12. On the G, we go 9, 11, 12. On the B, we go 10, 12, 13. And then on that high E, we go 10, 12, 14. As for our fifth position, where the heck does that thing start? Well, we started, again, remember, at 8, 10, 12. So it's going to start on the 10th fret. Again, easy as that. It just starts on that second note of the previous one always as you're going up. So let's talk about the actual pattern here. We're going to talk about going 10, 12, 14 across the thickest 3 strings. So literally it goes 10, 12, 14, 10, 12, 14, 10, 12, 14. Then when we get to that G, it's just going to be 11, 12, 14. And then our B string is just 12, 13, 15. And lastly, our high E will go 12, 14, 15. Now this next pattern, position 6, is very special, and I'll show you why after we figure it out. But remember, the way we figured this out, we just played the notes going from the 10th fret to the 12th fret. So we're going to start it on the 12th fret. And here's the pattern, and I'll start to explain why it's so important after we learn the pattern. The pattern is as such. We're going to go 12, 14, 15, 12, 14, 15, 12, 14, 16, 12, 14, 16, 13, 15, 17, and then the only weird one is that high E. We just have to shift a little bit. And we go, instead of doing the same thing as our B string, we change it a bit. We go 14, 15, 17. Now, the reason the 6th position is so critical and important is that it's the same shape as a natural minor scale. In other words, if you start that position on the root note of your minor scale that you're writing and composing around, you're playing in the proper natural minor key signature. And I'll explain how that all connects here in a second once we wrap up with pattern and position 7 of the major scale. So again, what did we just play for the 6th position? We went 12, 14. So the next one starts on that 14th fret for us. So we're going to go 14, 15, 17. Same on the next string. 14, 15, 17. Then we change it just slightly. We go 14, 16, 17. Same with the G string, 14, 16, 17. And then we're going to hop up here to the 15, 17, 19 on that B string. And the same for that high E string. And with that, literally, you know every single position of the major scale. And the beauty is that it all connects. It all continues to repeat because, watch. What note did I hit as my second note on that last position? On that 7th pattern? Remember, we went 14, 15 to start it off. What is that 15th fret? It's where we would start our next position if we had more. We do have more. That's the same note. It's that G that we found down there, just at a higher octave. So it just starts over. So you go through all 7 patterns, and then you're back to the beginning, and you're able to start pattern 1 and position 1 again here, and position 2, and position 3, and so on. Now, you remember how I said that 6th position is the same as doing our natural minor. What I mean there is if we start on that 6th position and we frame all of our riffs around that, so let's say we're jamming with an open E down below here, and we want to play a minor scale. Well, we start on that 12th fret like we just did, and we can go 12, 14, 15, 12, 14, 15, 12, 14, and we could keep going, but it's now in E minor is what it's framed around, but that connects too. Think of that as your new first position, correct, right? So that 6th pattern of the major scale is now our first position of our minor scale. The rest are the same. So if you want to go up a pattern, you do it in the same way with the same exact pattern to the 2nd position, which used to be our old 7th position. So it all connects the same because remember, major and minor are using the same exact notes. We just tend to resolve, start and end in different areas to get that feeling of a natural minor scale. Now note, the more advanced exotic scales out there like harmonic minor, melodic minor, all of those, including modes and all of that stuff, we're not talking about that today. We'll get to that here soon, but today we're talking about just your natural, major, and minor scales. So to wrap up, let's do every single one more time together. And I want to do this with a major key, and then I'll stop and we'll do it with a minor key. So what I'll be doing is starting like we just did, our first position major on that G, on that 3rd fret. But then we'll restart and we'll do it with G minor, and I'll show you how we connect all that. Just remember, I'll be starting with that first position here when I'm doing major, and when I do minor, I'll be starting with the 6th position, going to the 7th position, going back to the 1st position.